Good afternoon. I'm Sydney Basil, a junior at Bethany College. I am 25 years old, so I'm a non-traditional student. I had taken off 5 years between high school and college in order to get better physically from the injuries sustained in a terrible car accident that happened November 10th, 2003 of my junior year of high school. I also needed to figure out what I wanted to go to college for. 2 years after graduating from high school, I was just sitting around home doing nothing. And when I would go on the internet, former fellow students from high school would ask me, "What are you doing now?" And I would be so embarrassed. I would have to say, "Nothing." And even though I had a very reasonable excuse for not going to college, I got kind of tired of it. Well, then my aunt had gotten a job at the Bethany College food service department. She arranged an interview for me, and I started working at Boomers, a small student cafe at Bethany College. While at work, I shared my accident story with a lot of people. I made friends with students and some professors. The Bethany campus is so small that when I told a few friends about my accident, they then talked to others about my story, and it spread. I started out as a dining room attendant and then became an assistant cashier at Boomers for 2 years. Later, I was transferred to the main cafeteria where I met admissions counselors, and they started to talk with me when they would come up to pay for their lunches. They found out that going to college had always been in my life plan. Once they got wind of that, they would come up to the cafeteria and talk to me daily, and we became friends. They talked to me about what would be needed for me to become a student at Bethany. After my injury, I had thought that college would just be a very expensive experiment. For someone with extensive injuries like mine, now remember, I had been out of school for 5 years and had very substantial brain injury. But they told me that I would need to take the ACTs and get at least a 12. I was so scared, but I contacted my guidance counselor to arrange the testing. Now, I contacted my cousin, who got straight A's in high school and was attending Duquesne University. I asked her if she would help me study for my ACTs, and she said yes. So we got very busy, still working an 8-hour day, and then coming home and studying was very hard for me because I don't drive. I had scheduled the test for the mornings, so I'll get up at 5 a.m. and get ready and call a cab to take me to Brook High. I did that 2 different days, and after I was done the last day, I was told that it would take a few weeks to get the results back. So I just went back to my everyday life. The Bethany counselors would come up to me and talk to me. And one day, the enrollment counselor, RJ, pulled me aside and asked me if I had heard how I did on my test. I responded that I hadn't. He smiled very largely and asked me if I remembered what he told me I had to achieve to be accepted into Bethany. I said, yeah, a 12. He started to chuckle and told me that he knew what my ACT score was. I was scared to hear. I honestly think that if he could have hugged me, he would have. he grabbed my shoulders and told me that I got a 17 on my ACTs and that I was accepted into Bethany. I was in disbelief that I had done that well. After having a brain injury and being out of school for 5 years and not really doing anything to work on my mind, then I knew that college was a possibility for me, that I could learn. RJ and I talked about how to apply to Bethany for the upcoming semester, which was fall of 2010. I started school and I had refresher courses. I was taking 17 credit hours in my first semester here, but they were all introductory courses. The first semester went pretty well. Then came time to register for the spring semester, and because I didn't really understand yet what college was, I thought I could carry 17 credits again. My advisor told me that I only needed to carry 12, and he thought that 14 hours would work for me. I thought I could handle 17 hours again, but signed up for 14 very reluctantly. As the semester went on, I was glad I had only taken 14 hours, because as you reach higher level courses, it gets harder to juggle everything. I was taking 14, but I had to drop a course halfway through the semester because it was entirely too much to handle. So I learned the hard way that as hard as I fight not to let my injury be an excuse for anything, my injury is still a factor in my life.